Dear students, in today's lecture, we are going to discuss the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. How this declaration was adopted, what are the basic principles, what are the basic values of this declaration, as well as what is its legacy and relevance in the discourse of human rights. The adoption and the proclamation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948 marked a significant milestone in the history of human rights. This adoption of this Universal Declaration of Human Rights was actually a response to the atrocities and human rights violations which were witnessed during the World War II, including like Holocaust and other mass atrocities. These mass violations highlighted the urgent need for a global framework to protect human rights and to prevent future abuses. The drafting of the UDHR began in 1946 under the leadership of the UN Commission on Human Rights, which was chaired by Eleanor Roosevelt, with representatives from various countries and legal experts. The drafting process of this document involved extensive consultations and debates among member states, experts, and civil society organizations to ensure broad consensus and legitimacy. It was in December 10, 1948, when UN General Assembly convened meeting in Paris to consider and to adopt the UDHR. This UDHR was finally adopted by the UN General Assembly through Resolution 217, with 48 member states in its favor, no votes against it, and there was 8 absentees. This document was hailed as a historic achievement and a universal declaration of human rights for all people and nations. The adoption of the UDHR reflects the collective commitment of the international community to uphold the principles of human dignity, equality, and justice in the aftermath of World War II. Following its adoption, the UDHR was formally proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in a ceremony which was held in Paris. The proclamation ceremony was attended by delegates from member states, dignitaries, representatives of civil society organizations, and the media, who gathered to witness this historic moment. The proclamation of the UDHR affirmed the universal significance of human rights and underscored the commitment of the international community to promote, to protect the rights and freedoms of all individuals, regardless of their nationality, race, religion, or other status. Dear students, now we are going to discuss the key principles, key values enshrined in the UDHR. Dear students, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a foundational document that outlines key principles and values which are essential for the promotion for the protection of human rights. The key principles and values enshrined in the UDHR are like human dignity. Human dignity is the inherent worth and value of every individual, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, or any other characteristic. The UDHR recognizes the inherent dignity of all human beings as the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. For example, Article 1 of the UDHR says All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Another key principle is equality and non discrimination. The principle of equality asserts that all individuals are entitled to equal treatment, equal opportunities, without discrimination. The UDHR prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. For example, Article 2 of the UDHR declares everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Another key principle is universality of human rights. Means human rights are universal. It means that they are applicable to all individuals everywhere without exception. They are not contingent upon citizenship, nationality, or membership in any particular group. The UDHR emphasizes that human rights are inherent to all human beings by virtue of their humanity, and they must be respected and protected by all states and societies. For example, the preamble of the UDHR proclaims that recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Indivisibility of rights. It means that human rights are inalienable. It means that they cannot be taken away or surrendered under any circumstance. They are inherent to individuals by virtue of their humanity. The UDHR recognizes the interdependence and indivisibility of human rights, highlighting that civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. For example, Article 28 of the UDHR says, everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in the Declaration can be fully realized. And the key principle is rule of law and justice. Dear students, the UDHR emphasizes the importance of the rule of law, justice, and due process in safeguarding human rights and ensuring accountability for violations. It affirms the right to a fair trial, access to justice, and legal remedies for victims of human rights abuses. For example, Article 10 of the UDHR says, everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Dear students, understanding these key principles, these key values is essential for promoting a culture of human rights, for promoting respect for the dignity and worth of every individual. Dear students, now we will try to understand the structure and content of the UDHR. This Universal Declaration of Human Rights consists of a preamble and 30 articles that outline fundamental rights and freedoms. So the structure and content of the UDHR are like it is having preamble. Preamble of the UDHR provides an introductory statement. It is an introduction to this declaration that sets the tune and purpose of this declaration. It reaffirms the commitment of the international community to promote and protect human rights and fundamental freedoms for all people without any distinction. There are, apart from the preamble, there are articles in this declaration which are outlining the fundamental rights and freedoms. The UDHR consists of 30 articles that articulate a wide range of civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. These articles are organized into many sections that address different aspects of human rights, including individual liberties, equality, justice, and social welfare. For example, Article 1 to 2. Article 1 says that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. All human beings are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 2 says that everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Article 3 to 21, it talks about civil and political rights. So these articles 3 to 21 recognizes and protects civil and political rights, such as right to life, liberty, security of person, freedom from torture, slavery, equality before the law, and the right to a fair trial, freedom of expression, assembly, and association. Article 22 to 27 talks about economic, social, and cultural rights. So these articles affirm economic, social, and cultural rights, including the right to work, just and favorable conditions of work, social security, education, and participation in cultural life. Article 28 to 30 deals with the duties and limitations. Means these articles address the duties and responsibilities of individuals to the community, the protection of human rights in the context of limitations, and the importance of international cooperation in realizing human rights. Besides these provisions, there are some other provisions also within this UDHR. So while the UDHR does not have the force of law, but it serves as a foundational document for the development of international human rights law. The principles, the values articulated in this document have inspired subsequent treaties, conventions, and mechanisms which aimed at promoting and protecting human rights worldwide. So, dear students, this UDHR reflects the collective aspirations of humanity for a world where all individuals can live with dignity, freedom, and equality. Its comprehensive scope and universal appeal make it one of the most influential documents in the history of human rights. So, therefore, it serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. So, this understanding of the structure and content of the UDHR is essential for appreciating its significance and the principles it upholds in promoting human dignity and justice for all. Dear students, now we will try to understand the implementation and enforcement mechanism which is there for this UDHR. The implementation and enforcement of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights involve a combination of legal, political, institutional, and social mechanisms at the international, regional, and national levels. While the UDHR itself is not a legally binding treaty, its principles have been incorporated into numerous international treaties, conventions, and domestic laws. For example, many countries have incorporated the principles of the UDHR into their domestic legal frameworks through constitutions. This integration ensures that the rights and freedoms enshrined in the UDHR are recognized and protected within national legal system. National human rights institutions, ombudspersons and other governmental bodies are often tasked with monitoring compliance with human rights standards and investigate complaints of violation. Ratification of international treaties. Many states have ratified various international human rights treaties and conventions that are based on the principles of the UDHR. These treaties create legally binding obligations for state parties to respect, protect, and fulfill the rights outlined in the UDHR and other these treaties. Treaty bodies such as Human Rights Committee and the Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights monitor state compliance with treaty obligations through regular reporting and review processes. International oversight and monitoring mechanisms. Dear students, United Nations plays a central role in overseeing the implementation of the UDHR and other human rights instruments. The UN Human Rights Council, Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and special procedures which are responsible for monitoring human rights situations, which are responsible for conducting investigations and providing technical assistance to state. Universal Periodic Review. It's a mechanism through which human rights records of all human members are examined periodically by the Human Rights Council. It provides an opportunity for states to review each other's human rights practices and make recommendations for improvement. Regional human rights systems. Regional organizations such as Council of Europe, African Union, Inter-American Commission on Human Rights have established regional human rights mechanisms and bodies to promote to protect human rights within their respective regions. These mechanisms often to the United Nations in monitoring compliance with regional human rights instruments and providing avenues for individuals and groups to seek redress for human rights violations. Civil society organizations, human rights defenders, and grassroots movements also play a crucial role in advocating for the implementation and enforcement of this UDHR. These organizations raise awareness, monitor human rights situations, provide support to victims, and hold governments accountable for their human rights obligations. Non governmental organizations often engage in advocacy, research, litigation, and public education. Efforts to promote human rights and address systematic issues of injustice and discrimination. International cooperation and assistance. Dear students, international cooperation and assistance are essential for supporting states in their efforts to implement and enforce human rights. Development assistance, capacity building programs, technical support, and training initiatives help to strengthen national human rights institutions, to improve legal frameworks, and enhance accountability mechanisms. Dear students, lastly, victims of human rights violations have a right to seek legal remedies. They have a right to redress through national and international mechanisms. This may include filing complaints with human rights bodies, pursuing litigation in domestic courts, or seeking reparations and compensation for harm suffered. We can say the implementation and enforcement of the UDHR require a multifaceted approach involving states, international organizations, civil society, and individuals. While progress has been made in advancing human rights globally, challenges still persist. And there's a need for concerted effort to ensure that the principles of UDHR are fully realized for all people everywhere. We are going to discuss the impact and legacy of the UDHR. Universal Declaration of Human Rights has had a profound impact and enduring legacy since its adoption by the UN General Assembly in 1948. Its influence can be seen in various aspects of international law, policy, advocacy, and social attitudes. Some of its impact and legacy are like establishment of international human rights framework. Means UDHR laid the foundation for the development of international human rights law. It inspired subsequent treaties, conventions, and mechanisms aimed at promoting and protecting human rights at the global, regional, and national levels. Many of the principles, many of the values enshrined in the UDHR have been codified into legally binding instruments such as International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. UDHR, dear students, has also played a crucial role in raising awareness about human rights, in educating people about their rights and responsibilities. It has been translated into hundreds of languages and it has been disseminated worldwide. It reached to diverse communities and cultures. Human rights education programs, initiatives, and materials often use the UDHR as a primary reference point. It helps individuals to understand their rights, to empower them to advocate for justice and equality. The principles, the values articulated in the UDHR have also been instrumental in advancing social justice, equality, and inclusion. They have served as a catalyst for social movements advocating for the rights of marginalized and vulnerable groups, including women, children, minorities, indigenous people, and persons with disabilities. The UDHR has provided a moral and legal framework for challenging discriminatory practices, laws, and policies that violate human rights and perpetuate inequality and injustice. The UDHR has also promoted international cooperation and diplomacy in the promotion and protection of human rights. It has served as a common reference point and shared commitment among states, encouraging collaboration and dialogue on human rights issues. International human rights mechanisms such as United Nations Human Rights Council and treaty bodies play an important role in promoting, in monitoring, reporting, and addressing human rights violations, guided by the principles and standards outlined in the UDHR. Dear students, another great impact of this UDHR is that it has inspired civil society organizations, grassroots movements, and activists worldwide to advocate for human rights and hold the governments and institutions accountable for their human rights obligations. Human rights defenders often invoke the principles and language of the UDHR in their advocacy efforts, using its provisions as a tool for demanding justice, for demanding accountability, and demanding respect for human dignity. Dear students, despite being drafted over more than 7 decades ago, the UDHR remains relevant and adaptable to contemporary human rights challenges and contexts. Its principles and values continue to guide efforts to address emerging issues such as climate change, technological advancements, and global health crises. The UDHR's emphasis on universality, equality, and human dignity provides a timeless framework for addressing new and evolving human rights concerns, in the 21st century. So, in conclusion, we can say that UDHR's impact and legacy extend far beyond its adoption in 1948. It has transformed the discourse on human rights. It has shaped legal and policy frameworks. It has empowered individuals and communities and inspired collective action towards a world where human rights are universally respected, protected, and upheld. So, dear students, in today's lecture, we have seen that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted in the aftermath of World War II. The UDHR represents a universal commitment to promote, to protect human rights in the face of injustice, in the face of violation of rights. We have also seen that throughout its history, the UDHR has had a profound impact and enduring legacy, shaping the development of international human rights law, promoting awareness and education, advancing social justice and equality, promoting international cooperation, inspiring civil society activism, and remaining relevant in addressing contemporary challenges. So, dear students, as we reflect on the significance of UDHR, we are reminded of the ongoing struggle to uphold its principles and values in the face of persistent human rights violations and injustices around the world. Yet the UDHR serves as a collective responsibility to work towards a world where human rights are respected, protected, and fulfilled for all individuals, regardless of nationality, race, religion, or other status. Thank you.